right. Hello, and welcome to the next episode, edition, whatever the hell we're going to call it, um, of Meet Lincoln. This is Marla. She's had a really long day at work at Cork and Kettle in Ruidoso. We're currently all drinking wine while we talk here at Sumi's bookstore. So, anyway, we are going to talk to Marla today because I actually, as we discussed, if you already watched the interview with Sumi, I met Marla and Sumi at the same time, and we've become good friends. And to me, when I think of people in Lincoln and the people who are invested in Lincoln, I think of the two of you. And so, I wanted to. We'll start off with what I've asked everybody: is how did you end up here?
So, I'm actually from Jersey City, New Jersey. Born and somewhat raised there. My father is Border Patrol, so we moved around a lot. In my senior year of high school, my parents moved to Port Huron, Michigan, and I stayed behind because it was my senior year, and I had many scholarships for New Mexico schools. Well, I ended up going to Eastern New Mexico University where I got my degree, and I met my husband at Eastern. And he was actually born and raised here in Lincoln County, New Mexico. So instead, after we graduated, instead of moving back where my parents were, where there's a lot of people, we moved here. Moved in with his parents, and then ended up with our own place in the Capitan area. So now we live here. Unfortunately, I haven't taken him away, but he's engulfed me into the land of entrapment.
As someone who came from New York to visit, who ended up living here, I understand completely.
Yes.
And I tried to live around here and looked for a job out here and couldn't get one, so I ended up in Albuquerque because that's where the work was.
Well, guess what? Cork and Kettle's hiring. You want to come work for us?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Are you positive?
I'm so positive.
Because you spend your entire paycheck here?
Right? I'd be like, so they'd be like, Tamsin, did you pay rent? No, but did you see the wine I have? So this is actually one. I'm going to scroll in on it. This is Heart of the Desert, and I'm going to let you pronounce the wine.
So the wine that we're actually having is Heart of the Desert's Gewürztraminer. So the Gewürztraminer is actually an apple pear forward wine with a wonderful ginger honey finish. And it's actually a wine that we sell at the Cork and Kettle. The Cork and Kettle is actually a family business. The daughter and the granddaughter that own the store are the daughter and granddaughter of the owners of Heart of the Desert.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
So we carry all of their products.
The wine's fantastic.
Yes. All of the wines are very approachable in the sense. So even if you like a cab, but sometimes it can be too dry or smoky, oaky, our cabs are very fruity and light and crisp, so it's very easy to drink. The Gewürztraminer is a house favorite. Everybody that works there drinks it, and it's always a great pair for basically
anything.
Everything.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, when I was here last with my friend Ryan, we came and did a wine tasting. You drink, girl, you drink. We ended up, he bought a case and I got two because I don't make that kind of money. So I guess, all right, so that's how you got here. So, I know that, in Lincoln you do, sometimes you and Sumi both are dressed up, in time period clothing. Tell me a little bit about what you guys do when you're working one of the events.
So, when we're in Lincoln, most of the time we're doing, we're helping out with other stands, or we're doing our presentations for the paranormal with Lincoln County Paranormal and Historical Society. And we are basically just kind of all around. I would have to say, yeah, that's basically it. Like, that's what we help with. When it comes to Fort Stanton, which is actually one of the neighboring areas for Lincoln, we are a little bit more in depth with them. We actually hold educational setups. So, like, we'll typically do jewelry making, how they used to make jewelry back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. because they never actually bought jewelry, they made it themselves. And then like this last year with Fort Stanton Live, we actually did a presentation on candlestick making. And then with Fort Stanton and Lincoln, we're doing a lot of course, the paranormal investigation stuff. So we like to present that, but we're also there to kind of make it knowledgeable to the people that do come. Because everybody that comes, they always feel like something is there. They always feel like, hey, something touched me. And we're there to encourage them, like, yeah, that's possibly somebody who previously lived there. They've died there. They are still here. And we're just there to encourage to the paranormal of those areas.
I want to say it was Tiffany Owen who had a picture that she showed me, and I don't know if I don't think she took it. Maybe she did, but it was of the grounds, and it was and there was a residual of a soldier with a gun to his head, I believe.
Yes.
Or part of his head missing and him pulling. And I was like, holy cow. And it's true. At Fort Stanton, it just like Lincoln, you can really kind of feel that energy, specifically in the hospital. So one of the coolest things that I've ever seen you guys do is that I came and I helped out one time at the door. I didn't do a whole hell of a lot. But there's a hospital at Fort Stanton that has been redone, and it wasn't fully redone yet, but it was close, and you guys were giving tours, and it was just fantastic. It was so cool. And it was at Halloween, and there was a line all the way down from there around the edge, and it was really neat. Do you guys still do that? Is that something? I mean, obviously, that probably not this year,
yeah.
but
we actually last year we did all of the after dark tours, is what it's called. So last year, what we did was every other month we would do Fort Stanton, and then those corresponding months we did Lincoln. With Lincoln, because it's the entire town, the actual volunteers or the rangers would do the full tour, but they would come to us for the paranormal videos. At Fort Stanton, we actually give them the tour of the hospital. So we've been doing that for 2 years? 3 years. And then this year we actually skipped because of COVID and all that. We just weren't allowed to have anything open. But we plan on resuming all of that next year, and it's actually during the summer months. So nice. It starts in, I think, June?
March or April is when they start with the Lincoln After Dark, and then again, like March is, say, Lincoln After Dark, and then April is
Fort Stanton
After Dark, and then so it goes like that, and it goes through the active months, which is March, April through October, and then they don't do a whole lot during the winter months. And so we do those tours like Marla said, and we try to our focus, since we're with the Lincoln County Paranormal, we talk about all of the things we've experienced and captured and answer questions and stuff, and we do that in Lincoln, and then in, like she said, at Fort Stanton, we actually host the tour, and we walk you through pointing out, we show you a video first of all the stuff we've captured, and then we actually walk you through the building as a candlelit tour, so it's in the dark and it's nice and creepy. And so then we point with every candle is a hot spot, and so we actually point out, it's like, okay, so that first orb that you saw, we caught that here, and this is the story behind it. And nice. So that's how we have our tours set up, and we are always adding to our tours with the new evidence that we've captured, and in the future hope to do some more different tours of different areas, different buildings, and so on. So
cool.
And our biggest tour for Fort Stanton, at least, is Halloween. So it's always the Saturday, either before Halloween or after Halloween, depending on when Halloween hits.
Right. And does that usually, do you guys follow along? Do you guys try to do it the same weekend that Annie does her Day of the Dead festival weekend?
No, okay. We try to counteract that. So so far it's been the Saturday before Halloween every year.
Okay.
Because usually the following weekend is Day of the Dead, and so because both sites are run by the same people, and a lot of the same people are involved at both places, they try to not lump both together to not overwhelm everyone.
Yes, and this way the volunteers, like people who are volunteering, they're not having to spread their wings too thin. this year I really wish that we were doing the tours
Because it's on Saturday, man.
Halloween ends on Saturday, and it is a full moon, so it would
I
have been
know.
the best tour ever.
Ever.
And Halloween is the one tour, like, I actually always enjoy the Halloween tour because we actually dress up as the dead. So instead of us just being in our normal Navy nurse officer uniforms, we are actually the dead. So we are in our uniforms, but we are
You've done the
painted
makeup
up.
and
We've
all
done
that.
everything. And
See?
we are the dead, basically. So we're the dead escorting the living.
Nice.
So it's one of the coolest things ever. So if you can come out, even next summer when we start this back up again, hopefully we can. This is something that brings in so many people, and truthfully, I think that's why people come back.
And that leads right into my next question. Do you think that this, I was going to say, do you think this has the energy and all that has anything to do with why people return to Lincoln?
Yes, very much so. When I first moved to New Mexico, I was halfway through my 8th grade year. My dad would take us, because before we lived in New Mexico, we actually lived in Texas, Horizon City. So we were very close to the border, so it was really easy to come over. So we would go to Cloudcroft, and then my dad would actually bring us to Lincoln and Ruidoso.
Oh, nice.
And the reason being was because when you move to in certain places or certain times in Texas, but especially when we moved to New Mexico, we needed to learn the history of New Mexico. That's one of the courses you have to take, and I think it's 7th or 8th grade, and you're not allowed to carry on to high school unless you pass New Mexico history.
Oh, wow.
So when I started taking New Mexico history, my dad actually made sure that we went to all of the places in New Mexico that we were learning about, and one of them was Lincoln and Ruidoso. And I just remember the energy I felt here in this area, especially Lincoln. I loved Lincoln. That was my favorite place, and it's still one of my favorite places to come. So I really do believe that the energy that revolves around Fort Stanton and Lincoln and this whole area really is a magnet for people that can feel that. So they keep coming back and they keep coming back. And then on top of that, once we started doing the paranormal tours or the paranormal, basically the presentations, people are coming back because they want to know more.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, I felt this. I felt this. Well, I saw this. Well, okay, cool. We want to know more. Bring us more information. So we'll see the same people year after year after year, and sometimes every couple months. And there's been a few times we've seen the same people at our After Dark tours with Fort Stanton, and they're coming to Old Lincoln Days, to our presentation at Old Lincoln Days.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, this is what we encountered this year. What do you think it is? Or, hey, we came to Lincoln a couple weeks ago, and this is what we encountered. What do you think it is? So people are really not only drawn to the energy of the area, but I think the fact that the Paranormal Society and that we're so open, and that everybody within the area, like in Lincoln and Fort Stanton, are very open to the fact that there's something else there that can draw people there, whether it's the peace, the quiet, the just, in my experience, like with Lincoln, it doesn't matter how bad of a mood I'm in. When I'm driving through Lincoln having to do work, I feel at peace in Lincoln.
I do too. And
I love it.
Where else can you go where there's literally mountains on both sides, and it's quiet and it's beautiful.
And there's no people.
And there's
sorry.
Well, there was today because it's Labor Day weekend,
Yes.
But like on average, like man, Sunday after everyone leaves, like it's back to that ghost town, but it's like this peaceful. Like I love to sit on the Wortley porch, and just.
I would love, that's the one place I've never actually gotten to sit, is just to sit on the Wortley porch and just gaze out. That's the one place I've never been the one place I want to go.
I bet you Sumi can guess exactly where I tend to be drawn to sit.
Yeah.
Right outside room 3.
Yes.
Like it's like like if my chair isn't there, I drag it over. Like, and I never noticed I did it until a year later. I was like, you have a problem. You always sit right over here.
And I've noticed something because every time I walk by the Wortley, I actually have to stop in front of it and I just look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why. It just kind of walk by and I kind of stop and I stare, and I'm always staring into the area where room 3 is.
Yeah.
That's just where
Yeah.
I'm drawn to. And I think most people are that like to stay at the Wortley. Ma'am.
No idea what you're talking about. Not a clue.
Liar.
Wouldn't be me.
Lies.
So
I can be 120 and I'll still be fascinated with Billy the Kid.